We're joined now by Peter Greenburg out of Washington. And Peter, let's talk about the Airbus A320 a little bit. We know that this plane was about 24 years old. That's relatively young. Does this model have a history of problems?
It doesn't. It's the workhorse of the European fleet. We fly a lot of them here in the United States. It's their equivalent, let's say, of the 737. So very popular plane. And as you heard in the previous report from Liz Palmer, we're talking thousands have been coming off the assembly line in Toulouse.
Now, everybody has been zeroing in on this sharp descent toward the end. At first, it seemed as if the flight path seemed to be cruising along until the very end. Talk us through the flight path a little bit.
Well, you're at cruise altitude, anywhere between 38,000 and 40,000 feet. That's how much we know. And then it starts a sharp descent at about 3,400 feet a minute, which is not catastrophic, but it is steep. And they'll be looking at the vertical airspeed and the vertical descent rate very, very closely as they get the black boxes. Now, the first report is that they have recovered at least one of the black boxes. It could either be the cockpit voice recorder or the flight data recorder. But that flight data recorder is going to tell you a lot. It's got so many different parameters that are reported on that. It's wind speed, altitude, temperature, direction, engine performance. They're going to look at actual airspeed very carefully here because in the initial reports, the actual descent was not followed by a rapid increase in airspeed. The airspeed stayed relatively stable, which would lead some people to believe it was a controlled descent. And that would be that the pilots might have actually had some control of the plane up until the last minute.
So this is one of the most heavily monitored airspaces, but no distress call. What does that say to you?
It says nothing to me, and I'll tell you why. As Captain Sullenberger said, pilots are trained to control the airplane first and to communicate later. For those people looking for a distress call, go back to an old John Wayne movie where they had a lot of time on their hands. You don't have a lot of time in your hands in the cockpit. You've got to control that situation and really recover. It's all about the recovery. Very little time there to get on the radio and tell a story.
And if there's something going terribly wrong, probably you don't have that time, correct?
You don't have that time, but the Airbus is equipped with great telemetry. That when they find that flight data recorder and start putting it into real-time analysis, you're going to get a second-by-second analysis of everything that happened to that plane of an aberrational nature, which will lead them to hopefully get the cockpit voice recorder to hear what they were talking about in the cockpit to themselves, the two-man crew, right before the impact.
And you mentioned they have found the one black box. We don't know which one it was, but the black boxes are different. And so you've got the from the cockpit, and then what's the other black box? What is that recording?
You have two recorders. The cockpit voice recorder, which gives you the last 2 hours of recorded conversation in the cockpit, and you have the flight data recorder, which gives you all of those other parameters on performance, ranging from the engines to altitude, wind speed, vertical ascent, descent, everything.
All right, Peter Greenburg for us out of Washington. Thanks so much.
You got it.